As you can already tell from the video title, today is all about Atom's role as interchain collateral or interchain capital. And there's actually a big proposal from Agoric with the Cosmos Hub currently on the forum up for discussion that we'll be dissecting today. There's also a breaking new proposal about elevating Cosmos Hub shared security and releasing the next phase, launching a new era for shared security with the launch of partial set security. But let's go one by one and first look into the markets. As I'm recording this video, we're seeing a little bit of a dump right now. Bitcoin below 70,000 is hovering around 70,000 now. As I said, I think next week is where we're going to start running into the Bitcoin halving, right? I think that's where the Bitcoin halving rally will start. But that's just my random assumption. I can also be totally wrong on that. Crypto just does what it does in the end of the day, right? But historically, we're always seeing a bit of a rally shortly before the halving. And yeah, then a sell the news event, or at least a consolidation right after it. And then just a couple of months after that is where we're actually starting to enter the bull run. Our beloved Cosmos Hub Atom is still above $12, but yeah, nothing much is happening. A stable coin around those levels right now. So yeah, we're all waiting for the next steps, right? And we're also all waiting for altcoin season to properly start, right? So far, I don't really think we had a proper altcoin season. We had like individual coins like Solana that went off the leashes. But also, if you look at Solana, it's still down 30%. We're not even in price discovery for Solana, right? And it has been one of the biggest gainers coming out of this bear market. Also near around $7 right now. They just had also the Biddle Asia conference in Seoul in South Korea. And yeah, near $8 billion market cap. So twice the size almost of the Cosmos Hub and Atom, but also still down 66%, right? That's what I really mean. Like, yes, while some of these coins are actually outperforming the market and are actually going up, we're still far away from entering new all-time high territory, right? From entering price discovery, basically. And the fun only really starts when we are entering those new regions, you know, those new territories. So that's all about general market. If we look more in depth into the Cosmos ecosystem, we see IXO and region pumping. I talked about it yesterday. IXO made this 7x in one day with thin liquidity and thin volumes, but it's above 10 cents, right? So IXO is seemingly being revived right now, which is good to see. Also, Region Network up 34%. Staffy, which is also an OG liquid staking protocol, up 33%. So those are the big double-digit gainers. And as I also said yesterday in the video, that you also have to take into account the trading volume, right? And while IXO is up 48%, it only has $60,000 in trading volume, which is quite low, but it's also not nothing, right? So let's wait and see. This is something to definitely put on your watch list after such a massive breakout out of absolutely nowhere. We literally had a couple $100 in trading volumes the months before. Here, even like on March 18th, $98 in trading volume, which is absolutely nothing, right? And we have a similar scenario here for Region Network that has a bit more trading volume, 110K, which is also not nothing, but it's also not a lot. But I think Region has a bit more liquidity on DEXs, here also on Osmosis, absolute OG Cosmos coin, right? Region Network also kind of fits into the tokenization RWA field, more on the kind of sustainability side of things. I always said that Region, in my view, has the best mission in crypto, right? They really want to fix a real problem in the real world. And yeah, basically build regenerative finance is the term, right? But now let's get to the main topic of today's video, which is this Agoric Cosmos Hub proposal, which seeks to allocate 10% of the Cosmos Hub community-owned atoms to basically be used to mint IST, which is a decentralized stable token. And there's actually a lot of layers that this affects the Cosmos DeFi economy, liquid staking providers, Atom as an asset, and also decentralized applications and DEXs like Osmosis, Shade Protocol, Quasar, Astrovault, and Astroport, right? So, but let's go actually through this one by one, because I really want you to understand and think with me. We're actually going to go through this step by step and try to really understand what this is all about, right? So what this proposal actually wants to do is to put Atom that are currently sitting in the Cosmos Hub community pool, doing nothing, not earning any revenue, any yield, to put them to work while also strengthening the liquidity in Cosmos DeFi. And what I plan to do in the first step is to liquid stake Atom with stride and p-stake persistence at a ratio of 90 to 10. And this is also a bit of a controversial point here, but 90% to be liquid staked with ST Atom and 10% to be liquid staked with STK Atom. And these LSTs will then be deposited into inter-protocol vaults to mint IST and to provide liquidity on numerous liquidity pools throughout the Cosmos ecosystem. This does not only strengthen the liquidity and improve the user experience, on the other hand, also generates an income for Atom, right? Because now those Atom that were sitting around in a community pool are projected to earn yield of around 18 to 19% annually. And they're not only earning that yield from fees, but also from external incentives, which also means that the Cosmos Hub treasury would accrue a basket of tokens, whichever pools are incentivized with whichever tokens, right? Maybe Osmo, maybe Arch, maybe SHD, right? Shade's native token. So the Cosmos Hub would accrue all these tokens and basically build up a portfolio. We currently have predominantly Atom and Neutron in there, NTRN, but to basically build up a portfolio of tokens for the Cosmos Hub treasury, right? They're planning to run a 3-month trial period, basically, for asking for 4% of the community treasury. And then after that, they want to deploy another 6%, which would mean a total of 10% would be allocated from the community atoms to basically be put to work. And here you can see a breakdown of where this liquidity is then being deployed, right? They want to deploy 30% on the osmosis IST USDC concentrated liquidity pool, 25% on Astroport IST USDC, I guess on Neutron, 15% on Astro Vault, which is on Archway, IST USDC Noble Pool, 15% to the Shade Silk IST pool. That's the one I talked to you about a couple of weeks ago, which is an absolute hidden gem of stablecoin pools in Cosmos with very, very high APR, because also it's still undiscovered and liquidity is still very thin, right? So you can earn, I think, 35 to 40% APR right now on that stablecoin pool, which is nuts. But yeah, 15% would go there. And then 15% into the Quasar IST USDC vault. The next thing that a lot of people also have pointed out here is the distribution, the ratio between liquid staking with stride versus persistence, right? This proposal, as it is, proposes to stake 90% with stride and 10% with p-stake. There are a lot of arguments to be made for both sides, right? One of which, for example, is that stride is fully atom aligned. It's an atom secure chain. It also has a lot higher economic security. So it's actually safer to stake the vast majority with stride over p-stake or any other service provider. On the other hand, I think the biggest argument for having a more equal distribution or ratio would be to say that, you know, we don't want to have another Lido situation in Cosmos where we just go all in with one liquid staking provider, because liquid staking is risky, right? And we don't want to have too many dependencies on one single liquid staking service provider. So that's kind of the main argument for persistence p-stake. And also, you know, then there's like nuances about the products and their levels of decentralization. There's, you know, questions around alignment and who is more aligned with the Cosmos Hub and not, about distributions in terms of their product adoption, right? Like how much is actually already being subsidized or supported by the Cosmos Hub pool, because both have already done on-chain proposals in the past asking for community funds to basically be liquid staked with either provider, right? So there's already multiple proposals, I think 2 for stride, 1 for p-stake, that were already approved. So there's a lot of like nuances, but I think on a higher level, it's like the question on who is more atom aligned, what about economic security and actually kind of risk, but then also what about kind of getting more and more into a Lido scenario here on Cosmos, where we just go all in on one staking provider and yeah, and then create risks and friction points there, right? There's obviously the, you know, p-stake community and persistence team members that are advocating for a 50-50 or 60-40 ratio, which I think would probably be a bit too much to ask for. On the other hand, I also think 90-10 is a bit harsh for persistence. I personally think something around 70-30 or 80-20 would be fairer. There are some projections on how much that would actually generate for the Cosmos Hub treasury. with a collateralization ratio of 300%, ST Atom and STK Atom can yield between 18 and 19% annually, and that would account for around $700,000 per year at current prices, or around 60,000 atoms. I think this is the core value proposition, to put those atoms to work and deploy them across Cosmos DeFi. Obviously, Agoric and Interprotocol is proposing here to provide a business model through basically external incentives and swap fees and all these kind of things that are generated by the productivity of the asset, but not actually paying for that service, right? And I think what Bendy is alluding to here is things like Atom Wars, things like Time Wave, right? I think also Tyborg has commented here from Informal Systems, which is building out Atom Wars right now. So I think they really want to build that. Time Wave, I made a full video on that a couple of weeks ago, where they basically want to build a business model for liquidity as a service to be provided by the Cosmos Hub and Atom, where Atom could actually also not only benefit financially from the upside and productivity in Cosmos DeFi, but also just charge a fee for lending out that liquidity, right? On a higher level, I personally think that this proposal is a net positive for the Cosmos Hub. And the question right now, because we're so early, Atom is not there yet. Atom needs to catch up a lot to actually become a productive interchain collateral and asset in Cosmos DeFi. I also don't really think that this is only a proposal that benefits Interprotocol and IST or any other of these protocols, right? I actually think that this proposal also benefits Atom's positioning as interchain collateral and interchain money. But if that proposal would pass, it would also mean that IST, which is a decentralized stable token in Cosmos that is trying to fill the gap of UST in a much more battle-tested, resilient, and conservative kind of framework, that IST would be predominantly backed by Atom and would be fully aligned with Atom in that sense, right? So I think this is something where if the Atom community would say now, hey, we don't want to do it for free, we want to charge for that, fine, we can do that. But maybe let's first get to a point where Atom becomes really recognized across the board from the entire Cosmos ecosystem as interchain collateral or capital. And from there on, I think it's much easier to charge for that service. Whereas right now, I feel like we still need to get to that point, right? So I think it's a mutually beneficial proposal here, both for IST and for Atom as an asset, which is why I think generally this is very, very amazing. And I'm glad that this proposal was actually being proposed here. If this proposal goes through, the funds would be managed and governed by a multisig, which is composed of those people: Zaki Menin, Absolute Cosmos OG, Riley from Stride, Dean from Agoric, Josh from Kepler and Osmosis, Bart from Persistence, Carter from Shade, and also Jack Sempolin. My call to action now is for you to basically get involved in the discussion here, right? Get involved in the discussion, provide your feedback. What do you think about, number one, the ratio between PSIG and Stride? Like I said, personally, I think 50-50 would be too big of an ask. I also think 90-10 is maybe too much in favor for Stride. I think maybe 80-20 or 70-30 would be fair. Secondly, what about Atom Wars and Time Wave and basically the Cosmos Hub and Atom starting to charge a fee for that service, for basically lending out liquidity? This is like literally liquidity as a service, as we talked about it months ago. But yeah, there's no clear process for that right now, right? And like Tyborg was commenting, this is something that they want to build with Atom Wars. And lastly, also the distribution between those different DeFi providers in Cosmos, right? So I'm personally, to be honest, in favor of this proposal, even as it is right now. I'm not crazily against this, neither on the distribution side, ratio between Stride, PSIG, all these kind of things. I think this is just something that needs to get started, right? Because I think Atom doesn't have a lot of time left and a lot of bullets left to try and become interchain collateral, right? I think now is the time. This proposal is a great opportunity for the Cosmos Hub and Atom to be recognized more across Cosmos DeFi and to be also the main backer for IST. Now, in that context, we also have another interesting proposal. I think All of what I talked about refers to Atom as an asset and its philosophical standing in the Cosmos ecosystem. But we also have a technical layer, right? And on the technical layer, we have partial set security, Interchain security 2.0. It is a signaling proposal. This is important to note. So if this proposal gets approved, which is very likely, we're only at 5% quorum right now, but this is a no-brainer proposal. And if that proposal goes through, this would give green light, the final green light for the informal systems team to then prepare for the biggest upgrade the Cosmos Hub has seen in a long time. And that would make shared security on the Cosmos Hub a lot more scalable. You can actually read through the proposal in here. It's just like three pages, so it's not a lot. But basically what it will do, it will scale ICS adoption, because now instead of basically asking the entire validator set on the Cosmos Hub to also secure another chain, you have individual opt-in for validators. So validators can basically choose which chain they want to validate on, which chain they want to secure. We have 4 chains already lined up who want to use that service. We have Illis Network, which is a prep stacks. We have Aether, which is an EVM chain. We also have Landslide, which is basically an AVAX restaking and interoperability chain. And then fourth, we also have Lorenzo protocol, which is what I talked about yesterday, that is bringing Bitcoin L2s as a service, being fully Atom secured to the Cosmos Hub and the Cosmos ecosystem. So I think we're just weeks, maybe a few months away from this major upgrade to actually be implemented. And yeah, this would probably boost adoption. And yeah, maybe that's also where Noble, Kava are taking note with their high value assets, native USDC, native USDT. Noble has over 200 million of USDC issued on their chain to basically explore that. So yeah, this would be a really, really bullish scenario. And with that, I want to send you to the Cito Zone website, where you can now submit content, right? You can submit tweets, articles, blog posts, explainers, educational content, news content, right? It needs to be high quality. It needs to meet a certain criteria that we will add here. If you click here right now, you will be directed to a Google form, which we are going to be adding more questions and more requirements to. But please check that out, start submitting content, become an active contributor to the Cito Zone, the new content hub in Cosmos. This is where you find research report, ecosystem news, also airdrops, which is something we're working on. We're also thinking about how to best present those information. And yeah, if you have any feedback here, please let me know. This is all about it for today. I'm going to see you in a new video very soon. Stay safe, guys. Until then, and be good.